Nathan Wright's fingers danced across his keyboard, the blue light of multiple monitors casting shadows in his dimly lit home office. As Silicon Valley's most promising remote developer, he preferred the quiet solitude of his mountain retreat to the bustling tech campuses below. The isolation suited him, until the night his ceiling exploded. The crash came without warning. One moment he was debugging code, the next his roof splintered open as something pierced through in a flash of emerald light. Nathan dove under his desk as debris rained down, his multiple monitors crashing around him. When the dust settled, he peered out to find a woman standing in the wreckage of his office. But woman wasn't quite right. Her skin shimmered with an iridescent emerald hue, catching the moonlight streaming through the new skylight. Geometric patterns rippled across her form like circuit boards coming alive. Her hair floated as if suspended in water, each strand a fiber optic cable carrying pulses of light. Quantum signatures confirmed. Target destination achieved. She announced to no one in particular, her voice carrying harmonics that made Nathan's speakers hum in response. Then she turned, noticed him, and smiled. "Ah, perfect. You'll do nicely." Nathan emerged from under his desk, trying to process the situation through his programmer's logic. "I'll do nicely for what exactly?" "As my designated mate, of course. I am Lyra, Chief Diplomatic Encoder of the Stellar Concordat. According to Galactic Protocol 7.31, any being who witnesses a diplomatic emergency landing automatically qualifies as a potential bonding candidate." She produced a holographic tablet, scanning him. "Your neural patterns show remarkable computational potential. Most satisfactory." "Wait, what?" "Look, I don't know about galactic protocols, but you can't just crash through someone's roof and declare them your mate." Nathan gestured at the destruction around them. "This isn't how relationships work on Earth." Lyra's patterns shifted to a puzzled configuration. "Fascinating. Your species still relies on arbitrary social constructs rather than quantum compatibility metrics. How charmingly primitive." She stepped closer, her scan continuing. "Though I must say, your binary thinking processes are quite elegant in their simplicity." Before Nathan could object further, a high-pitched whine filled the air. Lyra's expression shifted, her patterns darkening. "Ah, it seems my pursuers were faster than anticipated. Tell me, does your dwelling have any quantum shielding?" "Any what?" "No, this is just a normal house." "Pity. Then we'll have to improvise." She grabbed his hand, sending tingles of energy up his arm. "Your computing devices, they're networked?" "Yes, but..." "Perfect. I can use them to generate a temporary interference field, though we'll need to boost the signal considerably." She began typing on his keyboard with impossible speed, her fingers leaving trails of light. "I apologize in advance for any system upgrades. Your Earth technology is rather limited." Nathan watched in fascination as his monitors filled with code unlike anything he'd ever seen. "Are you rewriting my operating system?" "Just adding a few quantum subroutines. Nothing major." Lyra's patterns brightened. "Though I must say, your programming architecture is quite innovative given its constraints. You humans have done remarkably well with such basic tools." The whine outside intensified. Through the hole in his roof, Nathan spotted metallic spheres descending from the clouds, red scanning beams sweeping the area. "Who exactly is chasing you?" he asked, though he wasn't sure he wanted to know the answer. "Oh, just my former intended mate and his corporate security forces. I may have slightly violated several interstellar treaties by refusing an arranged quantum bonding." She finished her typing with a flourish. "There. That should buy us some time." Nathan's entire network lit up with emerald energy, spreading from screen to screen until it formed a dome around the house. The pursuing spheres bounced off harmlessly, their scans scattered by the field. "Impressive adaptation of primitive systems," Lyra noted. "You know, this is exactly why I chose Earth for my emergency landing. Your species has such wonderful potential for working around limitations." She turned to him, her patterns forming what he assumed was a hopeful expression. Speaking of potential, about that mate designation. Nathan looked at his transformed technology, the hole in his roof, and the beautiful alien who had just appended his carefully ordered life. His logical mind screamed that this was madness, but for the first time in years, he felt truly alive. Maybe, he said carefully, we could start with coffee first. Lyra's patterns brightened dramatically. Excellent suggestion. Though I should warn you, Earth beverages tend to acquire interesting properties when exposed to quantum field harmonics. As if on cue, Nathan's coffee maker began to float. Nathan's local coffee shop had seen its share of Silicon Valley eccentrics, but Lyra took it to a new level. She sat across from him in borrowed clothes, his oversized hoodie and jeans doing little to hide her ethereal nature. Her skin's patterns pulsed with excitement as she examined her first cup of Earth coffee, which had started floating the moment she touched it. Fascinating molecular structure, she mused, watching the liquid dance in midair. Though I believe it's meant to be consumed rather than analyzed. Several patrons were staring now, phones discreetly recording the floating beverage. Maybe we could keep the quantum physics to a minimum in public, Nathan whispered, gently pushing the cup back to the table. We're trying to blend in, remember? Blend in. But why? Lyra's patterns shifted to what he was learning to recognize as confusion. Your species is remarkably diverse. Just in this establishment, I count 17 distinct genetic variations, 8 different cultural indicators, and at least 3 possible hybrid humans. She gestured to a man with bright green hair. That one has deliberately altered his chromatic presentation. How does that differ from my natural bioluminescence? Nathan had to admit she had a point. In the heart of tech country, an alien might actually be one of the less unusual sights. Still, the pursuing drones from last night suggested keeping a low profile might be wise. Speaking of your natural traits, he said carefully, maybe we should discuss exactly what this mate designation means. On Earth, we usually get to know each other first before making any lifetime commitments. Lyra's patterns brightened. Oh, but I already know you quite well. I've been monitoring Earth's digital networks for months, studying potential landing sites. Your coding patterns are particularly elegant. The way you solved that recursive algorithm issue last week was inspired. Nathan nearly choked on his coffee. You've been watching my work. Among other things, your Netflix coup is quite revealing about your personality matrix, though I'm puzzled by your apparent fascination with something called the Great British Bake Off. Before Nathan could defend his taste in comfort viewing, his phone buzzed. The screen flickered with emerald light as Lyra intercepted the message. Ah, she said, her patterns darkening. It seems the Stellar Concordat has officially noticed my absence. They're dispatching a diplomatic vessel. She showed him the intercepted transmission. Complex geometric shapes that somehow resolved into meaning in his mind. Is that bad? Potentially problematic. My former intended mate, Nexus, holds considerable influence in the Concordat. He's likely convinced them I've been compromised by radical anti-corporate elements. She sighed, creating small ripples in reality around her. Politics among my people are complicated. Aren't they everywhere? Nathan found himself reaching for her hand without thinking. The energy that passed between them was like touching a live wire, but gentler, more intimate. Her pattern swirled with warm colors at the contact. You know, she said softly, this is exactly why I chose Earth. Your species understands that not everything can be reduced to quantum equations and corporate protocols. She squeezed his hand, sending pleasant tingles up his arm. Though I must admit, our compatibility metrics are rather impressive. The moment was interrupted by a commotion outside. People were pointing at the sky, where a sleek silver shape had just emerged from the clouds. It was too angular to be a plane, too controlled to be a meteor. The diplomatic vessel, Lyra confirmed grimly. They're earlier than expected. And knowing Nexus, diplomacy will be his last resort. She stood, pulling Nathan up with her. We should go. Things are about to get rather interesting. Define interesting, Nathan said, already dreading the answer. Lyra's patterns formed what might have been a mischievous smile. How would you feel about teaching me to drive? I believe we're going to need faster transportation than walking, and I'd rather not teleport again so soon. The last attempt seems to have disagreed with your roof. Nathan looked at the alien ship growing larger in the sky, then back at the beautiful, impossible woman who had crashed into his life less than 24 hours ago. His logical mind was screaming about danger and complications. His heart, however, was racing with excitement. My car's parked out back, he said. Just try not to add any quantum upgrades to it, okay? Lyra's patterns sparkled with delight. I make no promises. After all, breaking protocols is what got us into this wonderful mess in the first place. Nathan's Tesla sped down the coastal highway, its electric engine humming in harmony with Lyra's quantum frequencies. She sat in the passenger seat, patterns swirling with fascination as she explored the car's touchscreen interface. Your vehicle's neural network is quite sophisticated, she observed, fingers dancing across the screen. Though its security protocols are rather quaint. The display flickered with emerald light as new symbols appeared alongside the usual indicators. What did I say about quantum upgrades? Nathan asked, though he couldn't hide his amusement. The speedometer now showed readings in both miles per hour and something called temporal flux units. I merely improved its defensive capabilities. Nexus's diplomatic vessel is still tracking us. She pointed to a new radar display, showing a silver dot maintaining steady pursuit. Though I must say I'm impressed by your Earth vehicle's basic design. The integration of artificial intelligence and electric propulsion shows remarkable progress for a pre-quantum civilization. Nathan navigated a sharp turn, the ocean sparkling below them. You know, most people would be terrified right now. Being chased by an alien spaceship while harboring a quantum fugitive isn't exactly normal. And yet you seem remarkably calm, Lyra noted, her patterns forming warm, appreciative swirls. Your adaptive capabilities are extraordinary. Most beings require significant adjustment periods when exposed to advanced quantum concepts. I write code for a living, Nathan shrugged. Adapting to weird stuff is part of the job. He glanced at her. Though I have to admit, you're the most beautiful bug in my system I've ever encountered. Lyra's patterns burst with bright colors, and the car's electronics briefly went haywire. That was a courtship metaphor. You're learning to communicate in quantum-compatible formats. She sounded delighted. I guess you're rubbing off on me. Nathan smiled, then frowned as a warning appeared on the enhanced display. What's that? Nexus is charging his tractor beam, Lyra said grimly. He's done playing chase. We need to get off this exposed road. Nathan spotted a familiar turn ahead. Hold on. I know somewhere we can hide. He pulled off onto a hidden dirt road, leading to an abandoned tech startup's compound he'd once consulted for. The company had gone bust, leaving behind a state-of-the-art facility hidden in the coastal hills. Perfect, Lyra exclaimed as they pulled into the empty parking structure. The building's metal framework will help scatter their quantum scanners. And her patterns shifted excitedly. Is that a server farm I detect? The company's old data center, Nathan confirmed. Still connected to the grid, but dormant. He led her inside, using his old access codes. The security system still worked, powered by the building's solar array. Lyra practically danced through the rows of silent servers, her patterns lighting up the darkness. Oh, this is wonderful. With a few modifications, we could create a quantum firewall strong enough to block any tracking signals. She turned to him, expression serious. Though I should warn you, once I begin the upgrades, this facility will never be quite the same. Story of my life since I met you, Nathan said. Do what you need to do. Her smile was radiant. She began interfacing with the servers, her quantum energy spreading through the systems like digital wildfire. Nathan watched in amazement as the dead machines came alive with emerald light, displays showing impossible calculations. You realize, he said, that you're probably violating about a dozen Earth technology patents right now. And several galactic ones, she agreed cheerfully. But then, I've never been very good at following rules. It's one of the reasons Nexus was such a poor match. He's all about corporate regulations and quantum protocols. She paused her work, turning to face Nathan. You, on the other hand, you understand that true innovation requires breaking a few paradigms. Is that what we're doing? Breaking paradigms. Among other things. She moved closer, her patterns forming intimate swirls. Your species has a saying, rules are made to be broken. I've always found that philosophy intriguing. Her hand touched his cheek, sending shivers of quantum energy through him, especially when breaking them leads to such fascinating discoveries. The moment was interrupted by a deep thrumming that shook the building. Nexus's ship had found them. The firewall's not complete, Lyra said tensely. We need more time. Nathan looked at the transformed servers, then at Lyra. An idea formed in his mind. Crazy, reckless, and perfectly in keeping with their paradigm-breaking situation. You said Earth's technology is primitive but innovative, right? What if we combined your quantum knowledge with some good old-fashioned human hacking? Lyra's patterns brightened with interest. A hybrid approach. That's never been attempted before. First time for everything. Nathan grinned, pulling out his laptop. Let me show you how we primitive humans handle corporate intrusions. The abandoned data center hummed with combined human and quantum technology as Nathan's code merged with Lyra's modifications. His fingers flew across the keyboard while she channeled energy through the servers, their hybrid firewall taking shape in bursts of emerald light. Your programming logic is remarkable, Lyra said, patterns pulsing with admiration. Using recursive loops to amplify the quantum field. I would never have considered such an elegant solution. And I never would have thought to use server heat as a quantum conductor, Nathan replied, watching their creation grow. We make a good team. The building shook again as Nexus's ship maintained its assault. Through the windows, they could see its sleek form hovering above, bathing the facility in harsh white light. Lyra, a voice boomed through the building's old PA system, causing the speakers to crackle. This rebellion has gone far enough. Your quantum signature has been legally bound to the corporate consortium. Return now, and we can proceed with the arranged harmonization as planned. Lyra's patterns darkened with anger. Nexus never could understand. He sees everything as transactions and contracts. She turned to Nathan. In his world, quantum compatibility is just another resource to be traded. But what we've created here, she gestured to their hybrid system. This is true innovation, true connection. Nathan was about to respond when his laptop pinged. They're trying to breach our firewall. His screens filled with cascading code as Nexus's ship launched a digital assault. Let them try, Lyra said, her confidence making her glow brighter. They're expecting either Earth technology or quantum defenses. They're not prepared for both. The attack hit their hybrid firewall like a tidal wave. But where quantum energy would have overwhelmed normal code and traditional hacking would have disrupted quantum fields, their combined defense held strong. Nathan's adaptive algorithms worked in perfect sync with Lyra's quantum modifications, each strengthening the other. Impossible. Nexus's voice sounded frustrated. Your primitive human technology cannot possibly resist a full corporate quantum assault. Actually, Nathan called out, unable to resist a bit of programmer pride. It's not resisting. It's learning. He nodded to Lyra. Show him. Lyra placed her hand on the main server, her patterns merging with the hybrid network. The emerald light spread throughout the building, then shot upward in a brilliant beam. Nexus's ship shuddered as their counter-signal hit. What? What is this? Nexus demanded as his ship's systems began responding to their code. A quantum virus, Lyra explained, wrapped in a human-designed AI architecture. Quite illegal in both our worlds, I imagine. But then, I've never been one for rules. Through their hybrid network, they could see Nexus's ship's systems being transformed. Corporate protocols merged with Earth programming, creating something entirely new. You don't understand what you're doing, Nexus warned. The consortium will never accept this level of technological integration with a pre-quantum species. Maybe that's exactly what they need. Lyra countered. Your corporate quantum purity has stagnated our development. Look what Nathan and I accomplished in just days by breaking those barriers. The ship's lights flickered as their hybrid code spread through its systems. Nathan watched in amazement as corporate quantum protocols were rewritten with Earth-inspired adaptability. The consortium's sensors will detect this violation. Nexus tried one last time. They'll send investigators. Good, Lyra said, her patterns forming what Nathan now recognized as her problem-solving configuration. Let them come. Let them see what happens when you combine quantum science with human creativity. Maybe it's time for both our worlds to evolve. She turned to Nathan, her expression softening. That is, if you're willing to help me show them. This could change everything. Your life, your world, the very nature of human quantum relations. Nathan looked at their hybrid creation, at the transformed ship above, and at the beautiful quantum being who had crashed into his carefully ordered life and made it infinitely more interesting. The choice was surprisingly easy. Well, he smiled, taking her hand and feeling that familiar energy surge between them. I've always wanted my code to have universal impact. The Stellar Concordat's investigation team arrived 3 days later, their crystalline ship descending through Earth's atmosphere with considerably more grace than Lyra's crash landing. Nathan and Lyra waited in the transformed data center, their hybrid system humming with possibility. Time to face the music, Nathan said, squeezing Lyra's hand as the investigators approached. Her pattern swirled with determination and just a touch of mischief. The investigation team consisted of 3 beings whose forms shifted between solid and energy states. Their leader, a quantum entity called First Arbiter Ven, examined the hybrid technology with increasing interest. Unprecedented, Ven declared, their form rippling. You've successfully merged quantum protocols with Earth binary systems. The implications are significant. That's one word for it, Nexus muttered from his corner. His ship remained partially transformed by their code, much to his obvious discomfort. The consortium's laws regarding technological integration are clear, another investigator began, but Ven held up a hand that momentarily became pure light. Laws can evolve, they said, as can societies. What you've created here. They gestured to the hybrid network pulsing with emerald energy. This represents more than just technological integration. It's proof that quantum and binary systems can not only coexist, but enhance each other. That's what I've been trying to tell the consortium, Lyra said, her patterns brightening. Our obsession with quantum purity has limited our growth. Sometimes the most elegant solutions come from unexpected combinations. She smiled at Nathan, who felt the familiar surge of energy between them. Their quantum compatibility had only grown stronger as they worked together, their different approaches to problem-solving, creating something greater than either could have achieved alone. The corporate houses won't accept this, Nexus warned. Binary integration goes against all our protocols. Perhaps it's time for new protocols, Ven suggested. Their form stabilized briefly, showing what might have been amusement. After all, adaptation is the foundation of progress. And speaking of adaptation, they turned to Nathan. We find ourselves in need of an Earth liaison, someone who understands both binary and quantum perspectives. Nathan blinked. Are you offering me a job? We're offering you an opportunity to help bridge our worlds officially, as you've already done technologically. Ven's form sparkled, though I suspect your motivation has more to do with quantum compatibility than career advancement. Lyra's patterns flushed with happy colors as she moved closer to Nathan. See, even the Concordat acknowledges our matching frequencies. The corporate houses will need convincing, Nexus said, but with less hostility than before. Their hybrid code seemed to have affected more than just his ship. Then we'll convince them, Lyra declared. With Nathan's human ingenuity and my quantum knowledge, we can show them the benefits of integration. She turned to Nathan. That is, if you're willing to keep breaking paradigms with me. Nathan looked around the data center where his ordinary life had transformed into something extraordinary. At the hybrid technology they'd created together, proof that different worlds could not only coexist, but make each other better. At the quantum being who had crashed through his roof and his carefully constructed barriers, showing him that the most beautiful codes often came from unexpected sources. Well, he said, feeling their frequencies harmonize, I suppose every great innovation starts with someone crazy enough to ignore the impossible. Lyra's patterns exploded with joy, briefly shorting out every digital device in the building. The investigator's forms rippled with what might have been quantum laughter. I believe, Ven said, this marks the beginning of a most interesting partnership between our worlds. They paused, though perhaps we should establish some guidelines about quantum expressions near sensitive Earth technology. Nathan pulled Lyra close, embracing both her and the chaos she brought to his life. Guidelines, sure, he agreed, but let's not call them rules. We're not very good at those anyway. Lyra's answering kiss sent quantum ripples across 3 dimensions, and somewhere in the data center, their hybrid code began writing a new chapter in the story of 2 very different worlds learning to dance together among the stars. 1 year later, Nathan's mountain home looked quite different now. Quantum-enhanced solar panels powered a hybrid network that seamlessly blended Earth and alien technology. The hole in the roof had been replaced with a retractable observatory dome, perfect for stargazing or emergency quantum teleportation. In his renovated office, Nathan worked on the latest Earth Concordat integration protocols, while Lyra experimented with quantum programming fusion in her lab next door. Their shared workspace hummed with the harmony of binary and quantum energies working in concert. The corporate houses finally approved our latest proposal, Lyra announced, her pattern swirling with triumph as she entered his office. Earth's internet will officially begin quantum integration next month. And how many rules did we have to break to make that happen? Nathan asked, pulling her into his arms. Only 17, she grinned, her patterns forming the playful swirls he'd grown to love. A new personal best for regulatory compliance. Their hybrid quantum digital network chimed softly, displaying a message from First Arbiter Ven. More worlds were requesting Earth-style technological integration. Even Nexus had come around, his corporate efficiency finding unexpected benefits in human adaptability. You know, Nathan said, watching their combined code dance across screens in elegant patterns of light, when you crashed through my roof that night, I thought my ordered life was being destroyed. And now, Lyra's patterns shifted to warm, intimate colors. Now I realize some things need to be broken before they can evolve into something better. He touched her cheek, feeling their frequencies harmonize. Whether it's technology, protocols, or hearts. Their kiss sent quantum ripples through the network, causing temporary glitches in nearby devices. But neither of them minded. After all, the most beautiful codes often came from unexpected crashes.